Greetings, everyone. Welcome to IKG Wisdom Wednesday. I am your host, Sister Ajwa, and we are happy that you are able to join us on this wonderful, wonderful spring evening. So, for those who may be new, I am asking for you all to let us know where you are checking in from as we are getting ready for tonight's program. So, in the chat box, we ask that you let us know where you're checking in from, and we will be certain to give your city a shout out. So, IKG Wisdom Wednesday is a monthly lecture series where we bring in speakers to speak on a variety of topics related to Black African history, culture, community, family, health, overall well-being. And tonight is going to be another enlightening presentation for you. If you are new, we do invite you to go to our website, ikgculturalresourcecenter.com, to learn about our programming, our Egypt on the Potomac field trips, as well as our trips to Egypt. So, as the family is coming on in, we want to shout you all out. Welcome, family that's checking in from, let's see, we have Atlanta. Welcome, Atlanta. Welcome, Paterson, New Jersey, with the Sankofa Leadership Academy. Welcome, family. Welcome, family checking in from Florida. Yes, got the hearts coming in. Yes, thank you, thank you. Maryland is in the house. Texas, Bowie, Maryland, Brooklyn, New York, Charlotte, North Carolina, Lawrenceville, Georgia, New Jersey again, Brooklyn again, Durham, North Carolina, Decatur, Georgia, Arlington, Virginia, Wilmington, North Carolina, of course, DC, where we are housed. Okay, DC representing, Philly is representing. We just love to see our family checking in from all over the globe. So keep letting us know where you are from. We got Richmond in the house. Thank you, family. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. Our IKG Wisdom Wednesday is a Zoom webinar. Your cameras are automatically turned off and your mics are also muted. We do ask that you engage with our speaker and us via the chat. At the end, we will have a Q&A section of the program, and we do ask that you place questions for the Q&A, specifically in the Q&A box. That will help to ensure that we're able to see your question and get it asked. So for tonight's program, we are pleased to welcome back to IKG Brother Mwewe Ajay Ishangi. Tonight, he'll be speaking on Let's Have Real Talk about AI, AI Needs, IA, and AI. Tonight's presentation, again, about AI and artificial intelligence. And Mwewe writes, we are living in the information age, IA, where one of the most transformative innovations is artificial intelligence, AI. Yet, what many fail to recognize is that AI cannot exist without IA. And IA itself echoes a deeper origin. Ancestral intelligence, the first form of knowledge, wisdom, and data passed through generations. Author of 2048, Sovereignty in the Age of Control, When Big Brother Merges with AI, and From Railroads to Robots, The Evolution of Power and Wealth, Eugenics Role in Oligarchs and Monopolies, and Mwewe Ishangi will guide a timely and thought-provoking discussion exploring our place within the rapidly unfolding Fourth Industrial Revolution. And Mwewe Ishangi is a multi-dimensional creator, educator, and cultural custodian with over 35 years devoted to the study of history, economics, and identity. His work lives at the intersection of heritage and innovation, where ancient wisdom meets emergent technology. His writing spans cultural critique, historical deep dives, and financial empowerment. In addition to the two titles I mentioned, he also wrote Apatapisin, Intergenerational Wealth Planning for Black People, Who is the Boule, The History of America's First Black Fraternity, and he has a novel, 2048, Sovereignty in the Age of Control, where Big Brother merges with AI. He is a financial therapist, STEM educator, and AI generalist, using these tools to future-proof communities and awaken deeper literacy, economic, technological, and spiritually. He is rooted in the sustainable living practices of our ancestors, blending past and future to build a symbiotic lifestyle model, one that not only honors where we come from, but equips us to thrive in where we are going. So I'm going to ask Brother Mbwebe to come on screen and ask the audience to please welcome our speaker tonight. And as he's coming on screen, want to shout out Georgia and Inglewood, California. All right, Brother Mbwebe, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you again for joining us, and we are excited for the presentation that you have this evening.
Madase Pa, thank you, and everyone that's here. Always good to come back home and speak to the fam. If you don't know, Anthony Browder is very close to my heart. He is my spiritual dad. Jegna, known him for 30 years, and he's responsible for a lot of what I have become. So if you got beef with anybody, call him, not me. All right, take it out on him. But I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. And tonight, I really want to get into a serious discussion about something that pretty much has become a part of my everyday thought, mainly because I feel like there's not enough in our corners talking about these things. And as they say, if not you, who, and if not now, when. So that is where I feel like it's important for me to go ahead and spearhead, if anything, these type of conversations, because I feel like it's necessary. And I'm not saying that I'm the only one that's thinking these things. I think what it really is that perhaps we are having these thoughts to ourselves and not having a group of people that we feel comfortable with or that will accept, some of the things some of the perspectives we might have, because, we might be worried about how they'll perceive us. For me, that we have to go beyond that. This information is important. Because it affects us. This is not something that we can sit on the sideline and just wait to see what happened. We actually have a small window to have a say in what happens, and therefore need some deep diving. We need to go into understanding what this thing is. As they say, if you want to be able to be victorious, you got to study your enemy. And so this is what this tonight is going to be about. Not to say that AI is the enemy, but we're going to look at its origin, and we're going to look at and find that its origin actually does place a connection to us ancestrally. And once we know that, then we can work on rekindling and reverse engineering and unlearning what its trajectory is supposed to be. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about IA, information age, needs AI, artificial intelligence, which evolved from ancestral intelligence, the original AI. All right. So I hope you all will enjoy this conversation. And again, feel free to have if you have comments or anything, light that chat up. All right. So I want to look at this thing here. It's a quote that was said by Michael Hopf, that hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And I added on there that this is a cyclical evolution of a lesson unlearned. This is a cycle that we're continually going through, and we can see this. Like, things are getting kind of hard right now, both economically, spiritually, politically, all those things. We're seeing that, pretty much, especially in America, it's really lighting its own self on fire. And unfortunately, a lot of us are still here. So we're feeling some of that heat, and we're trying to really get out, right? But this is also where, when you are backed into a corner, you become strong. And I don't mean to not include women. This is again a quote, but I would also add that it creates strong men and women. We need both. Okay. And so these hard times that's going to create these stronger men and women are going to also, again, cyclically make it to the point where once we overcome these hard times, it's going to create good times, right? It's victorious. It's time to celebrate. We got over the issues that we had. And now, over time, we're talking about generations. When you have large amounts of times of good times, people forget their why or their reason or how they even got to this space. And so they begin to become weak. They begin to become negligent. And therefore, it allows now hard times to creep back in. And these hard times are going to create these weak men and women. So this is that cyclical thing that we're going through. And it all, when you look at history, you can see that you can start to see this pattern. One thing that we should know, and I'm sure you don't, if you're part of IKG, you do know this, that history is always written by the winners. And what is history but a fable agreed upon? We must become the tellers of our story, else will be written by or collaborated by someone and now something else. Okay. It's very, very, very important to think about these things now. I'm going to put my decree in the beginning. Usually someone says, well, this is what our solution is. Well, I do have that towards the end, but I want to actually put that decree of the reasoning why. This is not to upset you, to get you scared or things of that nature. This is to empower you. And what better way to do that than to read Jegna Anthony Browder's Transition 14 principle. And it goes, the Aset principle. Excuse me. In the beginning, our ancestors knew not. They studied. For 4,000 years, they learned all there was to know. They taught others. Then came the Ma'afa, the great disaster. Enslavers made it illegal for Africans to read and write. They were forced to forget all they had learned and taught. And after 400 years of forgetting, they forgot they had forgotten. Well, that changes today. I will remember for them. I will read for them. I will write for them. I will teach for them. We will make certain they are never forgotten again. We are the Browder Scholars. We are the vessels through which our ancestors will live and breathe and do their best work. Asheo. All right. So that's our decree for today, mission of self-rediscovery. And with that, we must understand to do that, we must become Sankofa futurologists. That's a mixture of going back and knowing your history and then applying what you've learned there into tomorrow. That is the key thing that we are here to do. Okay, in order for us to move forward. Someone laid a foundation for us to be here, so must we for the next. So when we look at this self-assessment, this is really about what's going to be happening in the next 3.5 years, by the year 2030. Jim Rohn said that if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. I always say this. I started out because it hits home every time I reread it. I say that to say because some of us are familiar with what's happening. We're seeing AI, we're seeing on social media, we're seeing deep fakes, we're seeing all these things and we're looking at it and marveling like, yo, I've even seen someone laugh at them. We're seeing where they're doing the baby memes and they're having them recreate some of our favorite movies and their baby characters. And we're enjoying the entertainment aspect of it, but not realizing what it really is doing. And so that's how they lullaby you into accepting it. So we must understand that we can't sit on the sideline. And if we must become familiar with what's happening and learn the dynamics of it, or we will be left with whatever they will give us. And that's if there's anything for them to give us at all. Okay. There is no obligation for them to help us. They haven't already, right? So we shouldn't think anything different, right? So the real issue is there's a digital divide. And it's not really all about race. It's laced with the economy, digital, finances. It's really about access. And when you think about the positioning of us compared to other ethnicities, we are at the bottom of the stats, the statistics show. We're the least of getting early exposure. It's not in our environment because we're not talking about it. We're playing games, but we're not developing games. The educational systems that, we're part of that system. We don't really own our own educational system, so we don't control what we're learning or putting into our minds. And then there's the financial conditioning, and I've spoken at large about that in my book and also my talks, my book, Apocalypse and Intergenerational Wealth Planning, and through my financial therapy with Crypto World Financial Sustainability Movement. But I'm also finding that this is a gap that is mainly not about ethnicity, not about intellect. It's just about access. And POADIS, again, is an acronym for People of African Descent in the United States. So we don't get caught up into the whole, I'm a BIPOC or you're, indigenous or, because that's a dumb war that we're still having, which I can't believe we're having in 2026. People don't want to self-identify, whereas the rest of the world see us as Black or whatever you want to call it. They see us as one, but we don't, unfortunately. But I use POADIS as an example, as my way of grouping all of us. But anyway, POADIS has slightly lower averages, largely due to gaps, access gaps, not capability. We're not stupid. We just don't have access. We're not being introduced. We're not being included in these conversations, nor are we asking to be, because most of us aren't even thinking that we should be. And that's the problem. We're being consumers and not producers. So here's the literacy rate. When you think about it, the digital divide is housed on POADIS families that are less likely to have home computers, reliable broadband, and that gap directly impacts skill development early in life. Education and pipeline effects. Asians are more represented in STEM degrees. A lot of us don't even know what STEM means. It stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. STEAM is you add art. Tech career pipelines. We're not in this space of getting jobs in this space to learn how to develop, to be coders, hackers, etc. The economic layer, device ownership. We're not producing our own devices. We're not owning our own social media platforms. Software, we're not creating our own softwares. And we lack. We are the last in developing coding and advanced skills in technology. So these are the reasons why that plays into the depravity of our socioeconomic condition. It not only was just color, now it's more so us as well, because we just don't have access. All right. So this does have a systemic origin. So I'm not going to say that it's our fault. It's been designed as such. And when we talk about this, I talked about it at great length in this book, From Railroads to Robots, The Evolution of Power and Wealth, Eugenics Role, and Oligarchs and Monopolies, is we talk about the second industrial revolution and countering that contrast with the fourth, which we're in right now. So that second industry revolution was Cornelius Vanderbilt, who was the head of the railroad industry. You had Andrew Carnegie, who was head of steel, and you had Johnny Rockefeller, who had oil. And at one time, they were actually enemies, but they eventually realized we can conspire and get more done against the world if we do things together. And so I countered that with the current oligarchs in the making, your Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos, who are also trying to feel like they can make decisions for the world. They know what's best for us. And we'll talk about it at great length as we continue. But what this really is when you think about this, is as Zora Neale Hurston said, is the one who makes the idol never worships them. So you have these guys that have us believing in all these different things that they themselves don't practice. They'll tell us to drink bottled water. They don't drink bottled water. They'll tell us to go and get vaccines. Them and their families will not take vaccines. They'll have us use all these devices, iPod, earpods, and things of that nature, and they will not let even their children wear these devices, okay? Because they understand the harm that it brings, but they look at it for profit. So we are thinking it's a new gadget, it's technological, and I want to be the first to have it, not realizing that we're actually harming ourselves because we want to look cool, because we want to have the latest gadget, right? This is that cyclical hard times, strong men, good times, weak men that we're going through. It's also called a saeculum. And a saeculum is based upon the Strauss-Howe generational theory, where big events in history happening in cycles based upon groups of people called generational archetypes. And with generational archetypes, what happens is each generation starts a new period that lasts about 21 years. And then in that 21 years, you might see different social, political, and economic changes. Okay. These periods are also part of a longer cycle, which is the saeculum. When you add those up, roughly 4 of those will make up about 85 years. So we're seeing roughly every century this huge shift from going from hard times to good times and then possibly going on the way back to hard times. Okay. So this fourth industrial revolution we can see isn't anything new. It started over 15 years ago, right? 2011 was when it's technically, they say, was the launch of the fourth industrial revolution. They also call it Industry 4.0, where we had rapid tech advancements in the 21st century, including AI, robotics, Internet of Things, biotech, and quantum computing, which blurs the lines between physical, digital, and biological worlds. We also see an extension of this from Industry 3.0, which is the information age. What many fail to realize is that AI cannot exist without the information age, IA, and IA itself echoes a deeper origin, an older AI, ancestral intelligence, the first form of knowledge, wisdom, and data passed through generations. So AI isn't new. It began as early as 1947. I'm sorry, IA, not AI. And with the transistor radio. Then we saw Claude Shannon's information theory paper in 1948. We also had the book 1948 come out, or 1984 come out in 1948, which talked about Big Brother. 1969, we had the ARPANET, which is the Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, used by the U.S. Department of Defense on how they started monitoring people. Okay. 1971 to 75, we see the microprocessors and PC developments. And in 1991, we saw the outbreak of the World Wide Web. In a world where we're ruled by AI, freedom runs on forgotten frequencies. And between the algorithm and the ancestors lies the key to sovereignty. This future is not theirs to own unless you forget who you are. When memory becomes a weapon, the ancestors rise. And culture is the last code no machine can predict. These are just anecdotes of what I'll be speaking about tonight and showing the power of memory, the power of our culture, and then merging that with futurology so that we can actually be able to combat and even at least lessen the blow of what's coming. All right. And this is all found in my book, 2048. So let's go through this. And I'm hoping that, please understand, I'm going to take my time with this because it's very important that we go through these things. So if you got a notebook, go ahead and take a notebook or screenshots. Feel free to take this information and apply it however you feel you need to. So we're in the information age. It's also called the digital age. It began in the 20th century. And let's think about, some of you that are old enough can think about this. We were here doing things before that. The information and communication technologies became primary drivers of economic, social, and cultural change. Some of the key features were core technologies like transistors and microprocessors, digital computers, fiber optic communication cable, and the World Wide Web. Then we saw the economic shift, where value moved from manufactured physical goods towards information, data, software, and knowledge-based services. This has become known as the knowledge economy. Then we have the communication change, where near instant global exchange of digital info and massive scaling of published content, social media, email, streaming, cloud services, FaceTime. These things just totally revolutionize the speed of communication. Social impacts, new forms of work. We got remote working now. We got platforms that you can work on together with someone you're not even in the same room. You got changes in education and civic participation, and reshape the media and entertainment landscapes. Technological consequences are digitization, miniaturization, network effects, and rapid technological obsolescence. So we're seeing that impersonation, deep fakes, it's going to only get worse because people are just willingly giving away their data. They're putting their fingerprints on their phone to get in their phone. They're using their retina scans, and in a minute it'll be a biochip. Losing your sovereignty, losing your personal information. Challenges, information overload and attention scarcity. People are just, it's too much to take in. Tonight, you might even feel like it's too much and I'm gonna have to cancel out. Still hang on with me because it's by design to over inundate you with information so that you'll become less interested, which allows them to do what they're doing scot-free because now there's no one to stop and monitor them. So we must pay attention. Misinformation, privacy and data control issues, digital inequality, and concentration of power in major tech platforms. This is what we are experiencing in the here and now. When you see groups of people, you see them more looking down at their phone than looking up and even looking out or looking at each other. We're glued to the phones now, right? And why does this matter? Because data is the new oil. China is the new Saudi Arabia. It took just one generational archetype of the sapiens to make information the primary economic resource and a factor of production. We went from producing things with our hands to producing things with our fingers by typing or using a mouse. And some people think that's technologically advancing, but at what cost? We're not moving around anymore. We're putting on more weight. We're not using the other attributes of our intellect. Our eyesight is getting bad. Our hearing is getting bad. All these things are happening because we're staring at monitors all day or cell phones. We have institutions, politics, business models, and daily life are restructured around data flows and connectivity. We have ongoing technological advances from AI, IoT, or Internet of Things, biotechnology, continue to push the era into new phases, raising both opportunities and ethical regulatory questions. There's no internet police yet, so they can still go and steal your crypto, right? As an example. But the thing is, as I said, when you look at us, most people are too busy glued to their phones. It's as though we're like becoming these digitized forms of sardines in a can, all packed and tight together. We don't know how to speak to each other anymore. We don't even know how to socialize. And when you look at these younger kids, these generations that are in high school and grade school, outside of having to deal with each other in school, they don't really engage the way that we did as Gen X babies. You know what I'm saying? We would sit there and talk and have fun, and we didn't have to have a device to play with something. A rock, a Coke bottle, and some glass could be something we could play with. We figure out something creative with that. Today, they need to have a Wi-Fi, right? We are responsible for AI. So that's where I want us to really understand, as you point a finger, you got 3 pointing back at you, what role have we played? And with this said, if we are upon completion of this current seculum, it is apparent that there's an opening of change on the horizon. And we must do so with the original AI in mind, that being ancestral intelligence. Not only are we older than AI, we are the original AI, ancestral intelligence. Now is the time to study up on our ancient oral and written histories, for it may actually save us. Message is embedded in memory, and it serves as a memoir that bonds us through time. So we must go back. We must go back and see what we did great back then. And don't get all enamored about it and say, wow, that was dope. The next question should be, how can we be dope today? What can we take what we learned then and bring it into today? So what is AI? Let's talk about it. What's AI? Artificial intelligence is when computers or machines are designed to think and learn like humans, allowing them to do things such as recognize speech, make decisions, or even play games. It's trained to notice patterns, make predictions, and get better over time by learning from examples, instead of flowing step-by-step instructions like traditional algorithms do. It's like giving a computer a brain so it can help us with a task or find information more easily. And I'm sure a lot of you are using ChatGPT, so you understand what I'm speaking about. Who invented AI? In 1950, Alan Turing developed the Turing Universal Machine, where the question was asked, can machines learn? 6 years later, the phrase AI was coined by John McCarthy during the conference at Dartmouth College. In 1966, the first chatbot, Eliza, emerged. 1997, Deep Blue defeats Kasparov at chess, the first computer. 1999, and I read this book in 1999, this book called To Your Right, The Age of Spiritual Machines by Ray Kurzweil. An amazing read, and what I thought was someone who was fighting against AI, because he was telling us all these things about what AI was going to be doing, only to find out that a few years later, he was hired by Google, 2012, to actually head their Department of Engineering. So a lot of the headway that you see that Google has been amassing over the years, you got to thank this man, Ray Kurzweil. And he's the guy who said that AI is going to be to our demise. And now he gets a job and he helps to manifest this demise. It's happening as we speak. 2011, Watson wins Jeopardy. This is a computer. 2014, AI starts creating images, audios, and the first deep fakes. In 2018, BERT and self-driving taxis came on the scene. And from 2018 to 2023, we've seen LLMs or large language models evolve. Things like ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, Grok, things of that nature you're getting familiar with. You're seeing these now. They've been on the scene for a few years. All right. But LLMs are what they are, not because they're intelligent, but because they galvanize information. What's an LLM? Well, it's trained on gigantic amounts of text, books, websites, code bases, threads, internet articles, to name a few. Simply put, they don't think like humans. What they're doing is predicting, word by word, pixel by pixel, what's most likely to come next in response to your prompt. So we see it as helping us when in actuality, we're helping AI through what's called deep learning. So as you communicate with ChatGPT, it's learning about you. You're thinking you're getting help, and you are, but it's really taking what it's learning, what you're feeding it, and it's enabling it to now become more helpful or become more predictable of your actions. Okay. So this is why I say there's a need for more Black writers. I call myself a scribe of many frequencies because I write about a lot of things. And if you're familiar with me, you probably get emails and promotion stuff from me all the time because I speak about damn near anything that covers the 10 areas of people activity created by Drs. Neely Fuller, Francis Welsing, and Kidi Awadu. Those areas being economic, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, war, and health. These 10 areas are the blueprint to how global white dependency runs the gamut around the world. So I make it my point to write about all these things and not separate them as they would have you believe is what you should be doing, going to college, getting 1 degree, when ancestrally we had studied 360 degrees. Everything was part of something. It was part of the whole. So when we're writing about things, when I'm sending you things about crypto, or I'm sending you things about history, or I'm sending you things about health, trust, you might not find a connection, but the ones that are responsible for what's happening in the systemic lifestyles that we're living, they've definitely connected them all because that's how they keep things intact and keep control. So we need to, as writers, begin speaking our story, not talking about the latest gossip of what's happening with Diddy or anything like that. We need to be talking about really tangible and applicable information that will help us into this next paradigm shift that's coming, that's here. Why? Because LLMs are counting on that information. If we're not writing about our story and someone puts in a prompt, tell me about African people, someone on the internet who's written about African people who may not be African gives their perspective, and guess what? The LLM is going to run with it. They're going to believe that that's what it is. So we are not telling our story, someone else is. So it really is important for us to pick up that pen or that keyboard, let's just say, and begin speaking about our story and putting things out there that are helpful to the growth and the sustenance and resurrection of our story, not just for the readers of our people, but also the future, but more importantly, or just as important, the technology that's going to be using this data to speak on our behalf. All right. So what's deep learning? Deep learning works by using artificial neural networks that attempt to replicate the way biological neurons operate in the brain. So AI is trying to have its own brain, and it's modeling in off of the human brain. These networks are composed of layers, an input layer that receives data, one or more hidden layers that processes it, and then an output layer that produces the result. And as data passes through these layers, the network learns to identify patterns, relationships, and structures that would be difficult to capture with traditional programming. This is similar to basically if you were to give a child pictures of animals or different pictures and hearing the different names and mimicking the sounds. Remember, we all did that as children. And the deeper the learning model gets, better, the more learning it gets, the deeper it gets in understanding and being able to choose. Okay, this is what a lion sounds like. This is what a hippopotamus looks like. That's what deep learning is. And so we are actually equipping internet or AI with this tool that will then enable it to begin thinking on its own. Now, understand, I'm telling you these things because a lot of us you might not have had this conversation with anyone else. Um, and it should be because we need to have a foundational understanding of AI before we even really get involved with it. But a lot of us, we just jumped right in because we heard about ChatGPT, right? But we need to understand this is why I'm going through this. So please understand the importance of it. And I hope that you are, again, taking this in. So what's next in AI? What's next is AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, which is a type of AI that can understand, learn, and apply knowledge across different tasks, much like a human can. So it's multidimensional. It means a machine could potentially do anything a human can do. And they're expected this to go into effect starting 2030 and between then and 2050 for the next 20 years after that. Following that, there's a higher level, artificial superintelligence, ASI. This goes beyond AGI. It's when AI becomes much smarter than the best human minds in every area, including creativity, problem solving, and emotional intelligence. Essentially, it's an AI that surpasses human abilities entirely. This is set to go in effect as early as 2040 up until 2099. Ironically, my book is called 2048, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the point is that AI is here. It's not going anywhere. And as Elon Musk would say, he would rather us merge with it than get left behind. I'm choosing not to merge with it. I'll use it as needed, but I'm not going to put no biochip technology in me. But I do need to understand it. I need to know how to code and hack it if necessary and use it in my benefit, and that's beneficial to me. That's what this conversation is really all about. We do not have to be sitting on the sideline and marveling at what they're developing for us, because again, they don't have much developed for us in mind. So these are the effects because of that. This migration or integration of AI into everything is going to change the way we live our lives. Now, some may say, that's great. Take my job. I ain't got to work no more. Still got to eat. We're the only species on this planet that has to pay to live here. So unless you're an animal and you can live off the greenery or worms or berries, you're going to need some capital to be able to house yourself, to clothe yourself, to cleanse yourself, and to get some from A to B, etc. You're going to need capital. You're going to need some sort of financial monetary system to do that. So they have one in mind for us. But before I get into that, we see that this is eliminating jobs. It's estimated that it suggests that automation could lead to nearly 25 million jobs being lost globally over the next 5 years. 25 million jobs, particularly in sectors in manufacturing, retail, and transportation. And let's not exclude the white-collar jobs, the doctors, the lawyers, even the politicians, because it's going to, again, be prompting and thinking for us and it's just set to do these things. It's on a trajectory to do that. As a business model, it behooves a business model to adopt AI if they want to stay in the green or the red or the black, rather. I'm sorry, they want to get out of the red and stay in the black. What I mean by that, if they want to stay profitable, they must embrace AI. Why? Because AI allows you to eliminate human fallibles. People in general have attitudes. A lot of us that have jobs now aren't happy with your job, but you still show up because that's what allows you to keep your lights on, right? But a lot of us aren't happy with our jobs and would happily leave it if we could just find another way to replace or make more income, right? With robotics, you don't have to worry about those attitudes. They do what they're told. They don't take breaks. They don't take vacations. They don't get sick. They don't complain. So therefore, you can work them to death. And when that one breaks down, you just bring in another one and keep it moving, right? So we are replaceable. We are being replaced as we speak. And companies are not thinking about what happens after they let you go. They're thinking about the bottom line and their profit, okay? So what they are slated to do, if obviously there's no work for us, then how are we supposed to keep going? Because, robots aren't going to Disneyland. They're not getting on a plane to fly to Vegas, right? So how do you keep the economy going? They're not going to be investing in Wall Street. So how do you keep the economy going? So they allegedly have slated what's called UBI, Universal Basic Income. And One may think, oh, a stipend, great, you'll pay me a certain amount of money every month just so that I could spend. You got to keep consumerism happening or there's no profit being made. Trust, they're not going to give you six figures in UBI. They're going to give you probably the lowest barrel. And of course, we're going to talk about probably racism is going to play a part of that. Color line is going to happen. There's going to be, you're not going to get something you're going to live comfortably. Let's just say that. And with the creation of 15-minute cities, you probably won't be able to leave outside of that 15-minute radius unless you have another way of creating income or that you are sovereign and being able to take care of yourself living off grid. Okay. Here's an example of what we see happening. And this is, lower end, but again, it's happening.
In Los Gatos, a brunch spot by day, dinner destination by night, turning heads thanks to a new twist on burgers and fries. It's called Burger Bot. Robotic kitchen experience is one of a kind. So owner Elizabeth Trung says that the tech does not replace people, but instead boosts efficiency in a changing industry.
You go to the grocery store and you see all of our frozen food being made, right? It's all robotics. But this, you get to see in front of you. This is the next sous chef.
So after the ingredients are prepped by staff, the robots then take over. They customize each order, slicing veggies, dispensing sauce, and plating the fries, all in under a minute. Wow.
So notice she said that, there are still human labor working there, but when you saw her, the video there, and you didn't see nobody there but her talking. So of course the news is going to dress it up, but trust me, if there is human labor, their days are numbered because these things are going to be doing everything. It behooves the profit that a entrepreneur would make or business owner would make to have machines do the work over humans. And they understand this. They are investing in it. Okay. So let's talk about the effects of what AI has, it's particularly in our neighborhoods, because there is eugenics involved in this. There is racism involved in the creation of AI in regards to how it sustains itself, meaning where are the data centers, where they sit, where these servers are that allows to give you all this computing power to do what you're doing in ChatGPT, asking for nonsense. What we don't know is what allows these servers to work is when they are working, they're on 24/7. And so these machines create a lot of heat. And the heat is the enemy of any type of computer. So you must keep the heat down. You got to keep the computers cool. So you can either have them in air conditioning, which then you talk about electric bills, and also they use water to coolants to cool down the servers. So what this means is that this is making water be higher in demand than it already is. Okay, it's already being used for production of a lot of things, but now adding on, because people are using ChatGPT, and up to 10 inquiries in ChatGPT is about a 16-ounce bottle of water being burned or used. We're seeing people on there for hours just writing or just gossiping. Some people are on ChatGPT having conversations like it's a real person, back to back for hours. Each time you're doing that, you're using water to keep that GPT working because it can get overheated, right? So what we're finding is that many AI data centers are located near low-income urban communities. Increasing existing environmental injustices, burdening these areas with pollution and health risks while worsening resource disparities. Water depletion and access challenges, the higher water consumption of data centers can create local shortages, meaning the data centers are getting preference over the people. The municipals are giving the water to the data centers and not to the homes, forcing communities into competition for water and heightening health risks. This is made worse by systemic barriers that limit access to clean water, forcing reliance on bottled alternatives that also pose health risks. If you read my book, From Robots to Railroads, the chapter I write about on Rockefeller and his oil runoff, which was the residue after he got oil, there was this toxic runoff that he used that he was being fined for. And instead of paying the fine, he decided to turn it into monetary products, i.e. plastics. So now we're drinking plastic water and you have no idea the journey that plastic water took, changing temperature. When it changes from hot to cold dramatically, the toxins of the plastic leaches into the water. So now they're telling us you should drink plastic water bottles or water from plastic bottles opposed to municipal water because that municipal water isn't clean. It isn't, but plastic is worse. Okay. So if you are drinking plastic water, if you're housing things or keeping things in plastic water and it goes, or plastic bottles rather, and they change temperatures dramatically, you should rethink and reconsider because you're actually killing yourself slowly. Found out last week that Amazon invested $25 billion in Mississippi data centers and in a Black neighborhood. $25 billion. They promised 2,000 jobs, but thousands more, tens of thousands more will suffer from adequate water supply. Okay, this is what's happening. We found that Google just dropped a $4.75 billion to buy an entire energy company just to power its data centers. So this energy company that was basically providing energy to homes rather, now it's going to be exclusively for data centers. Amazon has an $11 billion data center that's being built at St. Joseph County in Indiana, a Black neighborhood, built primarily to train and run AI models. Facility is expected to consume 2.2 gigawatts of electricity, roughly the same amount needed to power 1 million homes. So they're going to give the power to the data centers, whereas other folks are going to have a hard time keeping their lights on, going to have brownouts, unless they're off-grid using solar or other parts, other things that you can use. Will require an estimated 300 million gallons of water every year. 300 million gallons. A glimpse of how resource-hungry the AI future will become. So this water is being used in higher volumes since it's already been used for production of like from cattle, meat, food processing, cars, et cetera. We're using water for a lot of things, cement, construction. But now you add in AI, you add in data centers, and now it's been expedited. And we don't know how much water we're going to have. We're wondering about climate control, right? Well, here's when we talk about climate control, what we find is that SpaceX, who's owned by Elon Musk, and Google and Blue Origin, who's owned by Jeff Bezos, are racing to build orbital data centers. Since they can't get them all on the planet, they're going to put them outside the Earth's atmosphere to solve AI's energy and cooling challenges, which plans to launch massive satellite constellations powered by solar energy. This is a $1 trillion opportunity. Interestingly enough, if you do watch some series, there's a series on Hulu called Paradise with Sterling K. Brown actor, brother. And interestingly enough, it's talking about a tsunami that came after a doomsday situation, apocalyptic, and a select few of people, and you can count how many Black people were saved, went underground. And in this underground city, they had a fake sky. This fake sky had a fake sun and everything. So they're preparing for things, both for catastrophic things, but also they're preparing to even have the audacity to cut off the natural sunlight that comes from space, blocking the Earth from getting as much sunlight. Now, what is that going to look like? That's going to lower the temperatures, not for climate change, but because white folk can't take the heat. And the unfortunate thing is, you got people like Elon Musk who has the money and support to kick off a crazy idea like this. He's a billionaire, not self-made. He's a billionaire made from government contracts, the money that we give the government. So we're fueling his ability to save their race. This is all eugenics, y'all. It's all eugenics. So our resolve for 2030, it's not just to complain, it's to talk about the issues, but then we need to start unlearning and reverse engineering what's happening. What say do we want in our future? And I always point to the fact that, we are our solution. This solution must be put in place at least in some kind of way by 2030. So I'm blaring out the Akabin horn, the war horn, which talks about vigilance, awareness, hope, loyalty, and action to one's nation. I'm calling all artists. If you're a painter, graphic, illustrator, video, poet, lyricist, musician, if you're a healer, you're a shaman, you're a Reiki, herbalist, herbologist, astrologist, a physical trainer, combat, tech, if you know how to write code, IT, cloud, AI, if you're an engineer, farming, agriculture, architect, construction, permaculture, city planning, it is time that we come together and start talking about what is it going to look like for us in the next 3.5 years moving forward. Our resolve comes from the fact that the answer is in us. And when we understand that, ancient future author Wayne Chandler said it best, the all is mind, the universe is mental. We are those spiritual beings having a human experience who chose to come back for a purpose. And I feel it's about time we get in alignment with our assignment. We came back here for a reason. I think now more than ever, there are many reasons being made out. For if we don't, we're going to make it harder for the next. We are the original AI. We are the earliest recorded, self-governing, and wireless invention. Think about that, y'all. We're wireless. We're electrical, and we're wireless. Unlike your smartphone, we don't need a cord for self-charging. We get it wirelessly from sleep and from sun rays, right? The last wire we had connected to us was to our mother's umbilical cord, where we received not only nutrition for 9 months, we also received massive genetic, neurological, and spiritual downloads, functioning and memory data responsible for the person you are right now. Think about that. That sperm and that egg, once they came together, you talk about antimatter and matter coming together and the explosion that happened. This is where all this information from these two things came together and created who you are right now. That is intelligence. That is a physical phenomenon. And it's interesting that the core region that this all started and sparked from is also called your core. That navel area is called your core. That is your essence. So we need to get back into that. We have also a built-in waste management system, processing and delivering nutrients and foods to needed parts of the body while ridding the rest. This is the physical phenomena that we are. You don't have to tell your body to do this or do that. When I'm eating, I have to say, okay, I need you to go through the larynx, go down through the small intestines, large intestines, and then process it, and then keep what I need, and then the other part, let that be feces, and push that out. I don't have to do that. It does it automatically. I don't have to remind my heart to beat. We have a defense system, an immune system that fights this ease. All it needs to remain efficient are natural elements in herbs, plants, fruit, and water. We need to get back in touch with those type of things. When you get back in touch with self, you'll start learning from self and hearing self. And that self is an abundance of other ancestors there speaking to us at frequencies that we forgot existed. AI at its core, the African connection. There's pattern recognition, memory, decision systems. Modern AI or machine learning and neural networks is built on data storage, memory, pattern recognition, and predictive decision-making. Ancient African systems absolutely also had this, but it just wasn't digital. It just wasn't digital. Here's an example. The Ifa system in Yoruba. They had a pre-algorithmic intelligence, and it's one of the closest conceptual parallels to AI. It uses a binary code system of 256 Odu, or sacred pattern text. Each Odu contains encoded stories, outcomes, and guidance. A diviner interprets patterns based upon input. That's just like a query. This resembles a decision tree or a flow chart where if you do this, it'll point to that. And once you do that, it's like it gives you a step by step of what you do. It breaks it down. A database or query system also is a form of symbolic computation. So think of it as input. You put in something, the pattern is created, then it interprets what it's created, and then it gives you an outcome or a resolution. Isn't that how AI works now? If you really think about it, we just put in a prompt and we get the answer, but think about how it processes that answer. The behind the scenes work that it does. It's the same situation, same scenario. So another one is ancient Kemetic knowledge systems, and it wasn't random. It was systemized and encoded. The Meta is symbolic data coding. Sacred geometry, pyramids and temples have mathematical precision and existence. The concept of Ma'at balance of truth, order, is like an ethical framework. This mirrors data representation, structured logic systems, and even rule-based thinking. Fractals, fractal designs, recursive intelligence is what it's also. You find that in the Dogon or the Bahia or Ashanti, who use fractal geometry in architect and visual layouts. When they laid out the town or the city or the village, they had reason. If you've been to Egypt or the Potomac, Jegna Browder's tours, you see the dynamic of the Kemetic influence of the creation of Washington, D.C. and how they use it intentionally, and you wouldn't know unless you know, but it's right there in front of your face. Art patterns like fractals, self-repeating patterns at different scales. This is a core concept in modern computing and graphics and neural structures. You can look up a guy named Ron Inglash, who wrote the book African Fractals. He's an ethnomathematician, and he challenged stereotypes of primitive design and linked indigenous knowledge to modern computational thought. This also mirrors data representation, structured logic, and even early rule-based thinking. It's repetitive logic, and that is what the key principle of programming and AI is. They're getting all this from us, y'all. There's nothing new under the sun that ain't African. Here's some examples of fractals that you've seen and didn't really realize probably, or maybe you did. When we look at printed patterns, cloth, this shirt I got on, that's African fractals in design. And sometimes if someone was smart enough, or not even smart enough, if they live their life as the lifestyle, there's encoded things inside this shirt. I would just need to be able to recognize it and get the message. It's also in structures, housing structures, paints, murals. When they would paint their homes, messages were there, subliminal. When you look at, you can see the ironworks, you can see Sankofa ironworks that have, these were actually placed to let when Africans were trying to find safe havens to go during the plantation era and they were escaping. They would look for fences that were made that had a Sankofa symbol on it that showed it was a safe place to be. Okay. And then the most favorite one is in our design of our hair. Computer graphic simulation of braid and cornrows hairstyles where mathematical principles of rotation, iteration, scaling are applied to the basic Y-shaped plate as it translates spatially. You see these things where not only were seeds planted in our hair during the plantation era, so that once you got to where you got, you could plant food and sustain your families, but we also found that the maps were put into braids into our head. So much communication right there in your face, and we didn't even know that. And I'll say that we've forgotten that, as in Transition 14 and really Transition 13 talks about how we've forgotten and we forgot that we've forgotten. We see these things, use these things, but don't even remember what they're used for or what they mean. Okay. Another African connection is sacred geometry, cosmological theories, and spiritual beliefs. Rooted in ancestry and the afterlife have profoundly influenced African architectural design since the beginning of civilizations. There is a planned, organic, and perfectly geometrical intention toward the architectural inventions of the land. They didn't just put here maquette there just to put it there. They didn't put the mirror of Gaza just to put it there. They had geological and astrological meanings. That's why you see in the upper right corner, as you know, Barbara Broad talked about, and even Robert Bivall, if you take the Sahu constellation and you put it over the constellation of the Mir at Giza, or pyramids, some may not know that the original name is called Mir, is that it lines exactly over it. And the Sahu is erroneously called Orion's belt, right? So when you understand the history of how the Nile Valley, when you look at the aerial view of the Sahu and the Milky Way galaxy, it is the same aerial view of the Nile River and the pyramids or the mirror of Giza, right? We also know the geometrical numerical value, mathematical value of pi with pyramids. I'm preaching to the choir here. And if not, you should look these things up. That if you take pi, which is 3.142, and you take the height of the pyramid and multiply it by 2 pi, you get exactly the value of the perimeter of its base. We also have the Fibonacci numbers. Fibonacci numbers are basically when you take the first number and you add it to the second number, and you get the third number. You keep doing that. So for instance, 0 plus 1 is 1, right? Now you take 1 plus 1, and you're going to get 2. You take 2 plus 1, you get 3. You get 3 plus 2, you get 5. You get 5 plus 3, you get 8. You get 8 plus 5, you get 13, and continue going on. I don't understand the reason for it. I just know that it's some mathematical thing. I'm not really a big Fibonacci fan, but I need to do my diligence on learning more about it. But it is not by coincidence, or it is a coincidence, because it coincides with the fact that our history and math are one and the same. We are the originators of all this, but they have you thinking it's somebody named Hermes or Aristotle or etc. So I want to also play this real thing real quick. I was talking about the Nile Valley, Milky Way Valley, Milky Way, and the Sahu rather. And if you saw this movie that came out, I think around COVID 2021, Jamie Foxx played the voice. Pixar, Disney had this movie called Soul. And I picked up on this immediately when I saw this. And to me, it was really the most, I love the fact that they do tell you things in truth if you know your truth. There's a scene in here that I'm going to play real quickly that shows how they understood that we all come from the stars. Because if you know about the story of the Sahu, this is where they say we ascend to, where we've come from. So when your time is up, you're going to be ascending to that constellation of the Sahu. And some say when you come here, you've come through the constellation of the Sahu. So let me play this real quick trailer, and I want to hope that you catch it. If you don't, I'll elaborate. Check it out.
Are you?
Wow! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Help! I'm not done! Oh my goodness!
So I'm gonna have to do this because the video is messed up. I'm gonna have to play it again. I'm gonna come out and play it this way so you can see it better. Here we go.
Are you?
Whoops.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Help! I'm not done! Oh my goodness!
So what I
The
wanted you to
video's
see,
not playing.
that's fine. I'll come out of it then. Let me blow it back up. Did it play the first time?
Yes, it played the first time.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this. Hopefully, it'll show this free screen. Let me do this.
Are you?
Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Go back.
Are you?
I want to show you this. Is what I want to zero in on.
So right now the screen is black.
Oh, you can't see the video at all.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's whack. Okay. Well, I have to move on then because there's a scene in here where it shows that he's going through the stairs of heaven, and there is this big star, and that star is Sirius B. But you have to see the movie, and you'll see what it is. Why it's playing the videos now? Did it play the videos earlier? I hope it did. The earlier videos I did. But anyway, so
Yes,
almost
it
done
did.
here. Okay, perfect. All right. So the African connection, oral traditions.
Can you
African.
reshare your screen? Because right
Oh,
now,
okay.
yeah, it's still black.
Okay. So let me come out, stop share. Stop share. And then reshare. Apologies, everyone. Hoping y'all are feeling okay and you're following. All right. Keynote. Go here, share. Please let me know that you do see it, especially when I blow it up. Okay. Are we good?
We're good.
Okay, good. Stop sharing. There we go. Okay, so we're back to where we were. I'm not gonna come out of escape again. Sorry that you couldn't see that video clip, but just look up again the trailer to Soul. Okay. Anyway, so oral tradition, African oral traditions functioned like decentralized databases. Think about this. Think of this from a technological perspective, okay? Don't think of it from, just like common language, but think of it if you were like a computer nerd, right? Because this is how AI has been designed. They took what we did or how we lived, and then they digitized the version of it. So African oral traditions function like decentralized databases. If you think about this, you had one person that knew a lot of things. Who were they called? They were called griots. And they passed these informations across generations with high efficiency. These stories lasted for thousands of years because they were called knowledge keepers. And they acted like living memory systems, right? They knew all these stories. So how did they know? They memorized all these things, and then they were able to convey it to other people throughout their life, and then created other griots to do the same. This is context-aware interpreters, like AI responding differently on input. This mirrors distributed intelligence and contextual learning models, okay? AI frequency. I hope you can see this video. Oh my gosh. It's funny how people will believe in Wi-Fi, invisible ways, powering everything from streaming movies to storage in a fictitious cloud, whatever that is. You ever wondered where's the cloud at? It ain't up there. It's in a data center, right? But they make you think it's out there because you can't put your hands on it, you can't see it. But your memory, your pictures, your videos, your stuff from your hard drive is in the cloud, and you're paying rent to be in the cloud, right? But we'll still think that energy is where that is, but still think that energy or frequency and vibration are just mystical nonsense. These are people that will not believe in spirits. They will not believe in vibes. They won't believe in, things that are downloaded to you from a spiritual space, even though you might have had a conversation, a deep one, and you say something you didn't think you knew. You don't know where that came from. That's a frequency. That's a frequency that beam has always been going on. We just have not tuned in. But we will believe in Wi-Fi because we want to watch some TV. We want to stream something. So what's the oldest sound you know? And Audra, please let me know that you still hear the heartbeat when I play it, okay?
Yep,
Okay.
I can hear.
The oldest sound you know is this. When you were in your womb, in your mother's womb rather, this is the first sound you heard from inception. This is the oldest sound. This is the most universal sound. And it isn't just a sound. It's information. It's frequency, right? Another tool that I've learned about is the thumb piano, or called the mbira. And the mbira is a tool that's been used in African countries to transfer information. It's technology of memory. Before algorithms, before servers, before artificial intelligence, Africans encoded wisdom into sound. Okay? So understand that we are so deep, and we are the original engineers. We are the original code writers. We just didn't have screens. We used it subliminally. We used it frequently. We used it spiritually. We didn't have to have a monitor. It was already in us. A monitor is external. A cell phone is external. A tablet is external. But there's this brother named Joshua Maponga, and I found this video. This video found me because when I wrote 2048, I wanted to use the mbira as one of the weapons that my main character, Masai Sankofa, used to fight Big Brother 48, one of the villains. And I'm going to play this clip. And please, again, Audra, please let me know that you hear this. Okay. Please take this in.
You can hear it.
I had to cut it off, but please know, first this track found me. I was again looking up Mbira, and I'm very familiar with Mapunga, Joshua Mapunga, but I didn't know he played the Mbira. And when I saw the video, when I did a search, it just came up. I played it, and I immediately, you know, and I ain't soft, y'all, but yo, tears just started coming out because it wasn't just the sound and seeing how he played this, they call it thumb piano, in a way that I always say music is sustenance, it's food, but it's also information. It's feeding you. And if you actually tune into sound frequency, you connect to center, you connect to core, you connect to self. You connect to self, knowing that self is not just individual self, but cellular. Take the word self, S-E-L-F, and change it to S-E-L-L-F. Your cells, your neurological breakdown, your mitochondria, your DNA, your lineage, your star stuff. We're more than what this is. And when you connect to source, the power that you feel from it is undescribable. But again, that's why I'm not afraid of what's happening. This is the saculum. This is the period where we're going to create strong women and men, because this is what's happening. It's what my purpose, I'm thinking all of our purposes for being here right now is for. If you tune in tonight, you can't unlearn or not unhear what you heard so far. So you're gonna have to have some discussion with yourself. But moving forward, almost closing out here. I just wanted you to hear that because, and please look up Embers and listen to those sounds or frequency sounds, because it really does connect you inwardly and not outwardly. The African connection. This is all Ubuntu philosophy. It's an ethical AI black print. I put blueprint, but it's really a black print. The philosophy of Ubuntu is I am because we are. It introduces something modern AI struggles with. AI doesn't have empathy yet, doesn't know how to think as a collective. It doesn't have ethical relational intelligence. This is highly relevant today as people try to build ethical AI systems and human-centered machine intelligence. It is developing a conscience, and I'm kind of happy that a lot of people that are heading AI are Europeans and even Asians, because y'all keep abusing them and they're not gonna forget what you did to them. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we need to be in this space and introduce ourselves and become familiar with it. To what capacity, I don't know, but we should be getting involved. The African connection. So what's the real connection? It's not mechanical, it's conceptual and foundational. Ancient African systems versus modern AI equivalents. The Ifa divination used patterns, AI uses algorithms and decision trees. We had oral traditions, they use data storage and retrieval. We have fractal design, they use recursive computation. We have Ma'at and Ubuntu, they have AI ethics and frameworks. We have symbolic systems and they have data encoding. There is similarities. And the similarities isn't so much that they created it on their own. They are pulling from and trying to be as human as possible to replicate our experience. Okay. What role can Ubuntu philosophy play? I call it Sankofa futurism. We need to go back and know and learn who we were and then apply that into tomorrow. We're not going to be just happy about the electricity that we had well before Ben Franklin threw his kite up and got electrocuted. We had running water, electricity, underwater sewage, city design, all these things in the Nile Valley and Kush thousands of years before European troglodytes came on the scene. So we're going to know this information. We're going to learn about STEAM and STEM and apply that into 2026 and forward. Because if we don't want to know what could happen if we don't. So this is why I push for this term called Gatla. It's the K is silent. Afrofuturism leads to a Gatla. Gotla is a term from Tatswana, Botswana, that refers to a traditional assembly or gathering of discussion and decision-making. If you saw the movie Sankofa, you remember the scene with Nunu when they met in the forest and they all put on the red headbands and they were Africans from different plantations came together to give an update of what's going on. How many seeds do you have? How many guns do you have? Are there any place that you know where we can go to as a collective? What is the plan? When are we leaving? What are we going to do to, the Sambos that are around us? These were discussions they had deep in the woods. This is something that we must resurge or bring back into light. And if it has to be virtual, then let it be so. But we need our own Gotlas to have these plans, these spaces where we talk about what it is that we're going to do. And the reason why is because when you look at this trailer of my book, hopefully this will resonate with you. I know it's going to be bitmap, but if you do this QR code, it'll play the video for you. But I'm going to play it nonetheless. Check it out.
Read 2048, Sovereignty in the Age of Control by Mbwebi Ishangi. Out January 27, 2026.
So why am I plugging this book? I'm plugging this book because I write nonfiction. All of my 7 books so far have been in nonfiction history. And as I was writing the latest book, From Rebels to Robots, my son had, the idea of 2048 came to me, and my son was like, "Hey, man, you should make that a novel." And I was like, "Whoa, I never thought about writing a novel." And the reason why I chose to write as a novel because it allowed me to use my imagination, and I don't have to worry about sticking to just the whole boring facts of everything, and actually bring in some fantasy. And I even think some prophecy, because it allowed me to create a shero and a hero. It allowed us to win. A lot of the movies that you see that are dealing with the future, very few Black people, if at all, right? We're not in these stories. They're not writing us in these stories. So if we're not writing ourselves in these stories, it won't exist. We won't even have the thought of thinking that we belong in the future. So I wrote 2048 because there was a book that came out by George Orwell in 1949 called 1948 originally, and he changed it to 1984. It was one of the first books on conspiracies and Big Brother watching you. And it was a hit because it was prorated 40 years later. So people in the 1940s didn't have to worry. They thought, well, it's not going to happen in my generation. It'll happen later on. But they took it in as, okay, Big Brother's a real thing. And this is what George Orwell was saying. If you do not check these oligarchs, this is what they're planning for us. So where 1984 leaves off, 2048 picks up a century later after the creation of the original concept of 1984. And we're already in this stage. AI is already running things. And what are we doing in this space where we still have pockets of sovereignty in places like Brooklyn, New York, Kigali, Rwanda, New Orleans, places where some places still have, and they're using ancestral intelligence to stay below grid and still function, and then also take out Big Brother. I want us to see ourselves winning, because we can win this thing if we first visualize it, right? So this book really talks about that, gives you the inspiration, gives you the knowledge behind it. There's characters in here that I speak about that are all African centered. We got Madembe, Dr. Madembe, we have Ayo Ntwari, we have Ya Calypso, we have so many characters that know who they are in essence, and that relied on that to be able to survive in a space where Big Brother is taking over in AI. And so I think it's a healthy read for you to become inspired, and also just be aware of the things that are going to be happening in the very near future, happening now, actually. All right. So if you are interested, you can check this out at mbwebeishangi.com. And I also have a book club. We meet every Thursdays. We meet tomorrow, our second session. And you can come in whenever you want. Just because you missed a few doesn't mean you're going to miss everything. But we start last week, and tomorrow we go again, and we're going until May 21st. We're going to read the entire book together, and then we're going to, again, with the concept of the Gatla, is start anointing people in our group to say, hey, I'm going to take care of this, and we're going to plan this, and this is what we're going to be reporting to each other. What can we do to manifest the type of sovereignty that we desire and deserve? Okay. But other, in closing, last steps that I have here is I'm totally pouring myself into this space of learning about AI so you don't have to. I believe that we are transcending. At the same time, we are transcending. We have been in this stupor. We have been, culturally had this cultural lobotomy of not knowing who we are, and we are reawakening. And so with that said, we must embrace economics, finance, technology, all of those things that STEM stands for and STEAM stands for, because it is here. And there's no way that I could see us being able to exist without it. You don't have to merge with it, but we should definitely become familiar with it so we can use it to our advantage if and when need be. So here's a couple of things that I am now into. Consulting, I do artificial intelligence consulting. I take beginner-friendly approach, offering a clear and concise introduction to artificial intel. You'll learn what AI is, how it works, and where it's used, from chatbots and self-driving cars to healthcare and finance. Perfect for students, professionals, or anyone curious about the future of technology. No coding or technical background is required. So again, you don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to be computer literate. But as you probably would have thought, you never have a laptop or a cell phone. You do now, right? So eventually we will be one and the same with artificial intelligence, using it in some kind of way, or it using us. So I'd rather us be in a position that we know how it works, and then we can manipulate it to use it to our advantage if necessary. Also, I'm a financial therapist, as was mentioned. In order for us to be able to be free to create these things, both mentally and financially, we need to get a strong hold on how we deal with finances. But I think that every person of African descent needs financial therapy, because we've never been properly introduced to how finances work. So that is my goal, is to get as much of us as possible aware of the different money methodologies that rich white families have used to enable bloodline, lineage, and basically be able to pass on the wealth. We can do the very same thing. Doesn't matter what color you are. If you have the information and you apply it, you will have the same type of victories. Okay. Also, Financial Academy that I've created, that will also be a space for teaching kids on up to adult continued education, learning about finances, learning about fluidity, investments, and then also to the point of becoming philanthropists, where we invest in each other and create our own things that we need. And then lastly, consulting for STEAM. STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. But I also believe that, we might have arrived on slave ships, so we are leaving on steamships. We're going to understand that we can use these spirituality, holistics, using invention to basically create the prosperity that we're looking for. So this is really something, if you want to learn about city planning, learning about seed forests, seed gathering, how to grow food and not have to have a big land, a big large backyard to do so. These simple things of food, clothes, shelter, water are things that you'll learn in STEAM. With that said, I thank you for the time that you listened. And I know it seems like a lot, which it should be, because we are behind and we must apply ourselves in learning these things. But I want you to just rethink and remember, if anything you walk away with from tonight is understand that we are in this age where now these hard times are going to start creating hard and I'm sorry, creating strong women and men. And once we create these good times, we must make sure that we don't go back and become negligent to where we'll be back in this cycle again. So I yield my time. Give thanks, Madase Pa, for listening. And I am now open to Q&A. And if you so wish to, hit a brother up at my email, or if you want to make a nice donation, there's the information there. Appreciate y'all. Bless up.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, brother, for that fascinating, powerful presentation. Family, as you see the hearts, the claps coming through, much thanks, much love is coming in through the chat. Definitely, family, pick up the book, make a donation. We know how powerful and enlightening tonight's presentation was. The information, the presentation itself was very informative, very engaging. And the book with the trailer, right? And which I'm sure in the book, you're going to speak to how we can manage AI. Even though I haven't read the book, I'm sure just from what you showed, it's going to cover that. So I definitely want to just thank you for receiving that download and writing a novel and presenting that information in a way that many more of us can receive it. Someone did ask a question, what time is your study group? So can you talk a little bit about how people can join the study group?
Yes, and what I'll even do too is I'll put a link to where you can get the information to register. It's free. We meet every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m., 1 hour a week, and we go over the book. And then as we continue going through the book, we're going to start building, basically figuring out what people's skill sets are and what their interests are. Because again, this gauntlet thing to me is very important, that we put something into place, excuse me, so something into place so that we can manifest these things. So yeah, we meet every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm gonna put in the
And
chat.
while we're starting, can you reshare that last slide that has your website information and your Cash App? So family, you can purchase the book at his website, and he also placed
Share.
in web@ishangi.com
Yes.
is where you can go to purchase the book. And tonight's Wisdom Wednesday is being recorded, and you will be able to find it on Tony Browder, Karak Browder's YouTube page. So for those who are wondering, you can definitely come back to this information.
1 second. Gotta come out again. 1 second. Sorry about that. Stop share. That's pretty slow. Okay, here we go. Share. Here we go. Okay. You see the screen okay?
Yes, perfect. Okay, great. So what we're going to do, family, we're going to take about 5 or so questions. So if you do have questions, please place them in the Q&A box so we can make sure that we get those answered. A couple of questions, though, that I did see as we're waiting for some additional questions to come in was for the trailer of your book. Was AI used to create it? I think we know the answer is yes, but can you talk a little bit about the program that you use to create your trailer and just any thoughts behind that?
Yeah. And let me say this too also. I didn't mention this, but I also have a soundtrack. If y'all remember when movies came out and they used to have a CD soundtrack with different artists on it, if you go to mboybe.com, You'll also see, Ishangi.com rather, you'll see that there is a link to watch and download the free soundtrack. And all I did was I took tracks of my favorite, you know, favorite songs that, spiritually get me hyped. I even got some Mobb Deep in there too, but not the lyrics. But anything that gets me hyped and gets me spiritually want to dive in, and I put quotes and vocals from discussions that Baba Browder and I have had, from Dr. John Henry Clark, Neely Fuller, etc. Put them on this clip. So this keeps me in this frequency, and I call it frequency stream, keeps me in this mindset of wanting to elevate myself continually. Now, in regards to the trailer, I used Claude to get some of and you'll see it once you see it online, because obviously Zoom is acting up, and they made it bitmap, but it's a fluid flow. I'm actually working on a movie short, so I used Claude. I also used Grok, but I'm also a video editor and graphic designer. So in regards to the factual figurines, I was able to use AI for that. But then when it comes to placement, backgrounds, and things of that nature, I did some of those works as well. But I mean, that's the beautiful thing about creation, is that we need to start thinking about how can we tell our stories in different ways, because honestly, a lot of us are not reading. A lot of us don't like books anymore. It's almost like it's kryptonite. We don't want to pick up a book, but we'll listen to an audiobook, or we might look at a graphic novel. So I'm trying to meet where our people are, especially the younger demographics. So, and I'm even shortening it because, attention deficits are, greater the younger folks are, unfortunately, due to social media and the impact of that. So I make sure that I'm trying to reach as many demographics where they're at as possible, which means there's various versions. There are digital versions, there are audiobooks, there's of 2048, as well as the paperback as well. So, but listen, if you're a creator, go and create. Even if it's not a visual creator, if you're a cook, make some of the dopest African-centered dishes you can make. Like if you're a painter, if you're a mechanic, like whatever it is that you do, tap into that African origin of that, and imagine how more impactful it'll be, because now you're tapping into the ancestral line. I love having our ancestors back, knowing that the work that we're doing is to resurrect them and let us not forget who they are. As much as they make us remember all these other Europeans with their hollow days, we should be echoing the names of our ancestors 10 times more. But I know I went away with the question, but in a nutshell, that's what it is.
No, that's great. So go with it. Go with it. Wendy asked the question, what are the top 3 ways that you use? I believe she's referring to AI on a daily, weekly basis.
What are the top 3 ways I use it? Well,
Yes.
I don't use it daily because I do think about the water. Okay. I'm not gonna get on there and have a conversation with it. And I'm a creator anyway. I'm a writer. I use, my chat GPT is our ancestors. That's where I go to connect. So I sit there and, I'll spit out something, and then something will come down a download, may it be 5 minutes or 5 days, but it'll come. And so I'm not going to make myself reliant on this type of technology, because again, it's needing me more than I need it. And the more that you are relying on something outside of yourself, the more dependent you become on that and less of yourself. People are going to become so dependent on AI and technology, they're not going to know what to do with themselves. They're not going to know how to do anything. If you think about it now, people don't know how to do things. If it wasn't for YouTube and those DIYs, I mean, we would really be messed up. So we can't become totally reliant on a system that is designed to really suck everything out of us, while we're marveling at the fact that, oh, I can see this robot moving and it can make a noise. We can't get enamored with that. We have to realize that it is a war happening, and it's a docile war. It's a friendly war, so to speak, right now, because they're not throwing any punches, but we're voluntarily giving away our sovereignty. So if we're not thinking of it in that perspective and continue to give, it won't turn violent until it needs to. But if we are understanding, well, I'll talk about this is, what are some of if you want to get on ChatGPT, why don't you talk about, tell me what your weaknesses are? What is it that causes the computer to shut down? magnets, and water. You know, things of that nature. Use it for strategy. Don't use it just to be BSing on it. Use it to an advantage. That's something that you can use later on. That's pretty much what I gotta say about that.
All right. And someone is asking for clarification on your Cash App. Is it crypto woke movement?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
That's it.
great. Okay, and you were kind of getting to this next person's question, so I'm going to go ahead and ask on behalf of Robert, what are the harms of AI?
Unmentionable. We have no idea. What we're seeing right now, even Meta came out, Facebook came out and said that they quietly said that they can shut your account down and still use your information, use your likeness. So deep fakes. For those of you that use Siri, use what's the other one? Alexa to eavesdrop on your life. And, you know, I've had folks tell me, well, I only use Alexa when I need something, and Alexa's not listening until I call her name. Alexa has to hear you in order for you to hear you call her name. So Alexa's always listening. So if you are worried about privacy and you have Alexa, Siri activated, you're using your thumbprint to get in your phone, using your facial recognition to get on your phone or your laptop, you are volunteering your identity away. And not only just for hackers, you know, human hackers, but for the system itself. You're helping and aiding them on being able to identify and eventually replicate you if they wanted to. And that's extreme. I don't know how much I'm sure it could get much more extreme. You know, when we start talking about robotics and we talk about Terminator and we talk about body skin over skeletal frames, and you're seeing yourself walk right by you, that can very well happen. We saw it on the silver screen. Why won't we see it here? Pretty much everything we've seen on TV or in the movie theaters, we're starting to see now. So anything else I'm seeing today about the future lets me know they're already planning it. It's probably already here. Think about this. When's the last time you heard about Dolly? And probably you don't even know who Dolly is or forgot. Dolly was that sheep they cloned in the 1990s. After they cloned Dolly, you didn't hear about Dolly and cloning no more. But now we're hearing about Jim Carrey and Jamie Foxx and all that. And I don't really care about all that stuff. But my point is, they didn't just clone a sheep just to say they did it and then shut it down. So we must understand that we have no idea how extreme it could be, which is all the more reason why we should get involved as developers, as coders, as people that can read and communicate and dissect whatever means are needed to make and that makes AI work. We should be in these spaces. And then we should be bringing, as they say, spook a step out the door, so bringing this stuff home and create our versions, because we're going to need an army. That's facts.
Absolutely. And along those lines, Basil asks, are any careers actually safe from AI in the future?
No. Especially, I mean, no. Even teachers, babysitters, I mean, we already have driverless cars, so, you know, people are willingly betting their lives on a vehicle that's going to go 65 plus miles an hour and nothing's there to drive it or stop it. And you're sitting in the back seat, talk about, oh, take it means, look at this is dope. If a hacker, be it human or digital, decides to make a left off the cliff, you can't do nothing about it. So there are no jobs that are safe. Well, your jobs aren't safe without AI anyway, because your employer doesn't care about you. He's not obligated to pay you for the rest of your life. When he's done with you, he will hang you out to dry and not care about how many years. 10 years is not a thing anymore. It used to be a thing for our parents and grandparents, 25 years plus retire. That people keep, the average American keeps a job 4.2 years. They're changing jobs every 4.2 years. So there is no ability to create tenure, no ability to create a solid savings plan with a company that's ever evolving. And now you got AI to replace human labor. So no, you're not safe. Your job, you think that's comfortable, it ain't yours to keep. If anything, you should learn how to pimp the system, the monetary system, and use it to buy tangible things like land and or resources so that we can create our own jobs. But number one, not just a job, but be able to live off the land, food, clothing, shelter, water. Once you create those systems, you really don't need anything else. And this is why Rockefeller was so effective in the early 1900s when he said he wanted to create a nation of workers and not thinkers. They made it illegal for parents to keep their kids home. They took the militia out and made them go to school. And what do? We think education is the route. Education isn't the route because what you do is you come out in debt and you spend your entire adult life trying to pay off that debt. Whereas if you just learn how to garden, learn how to toil sand, and people are like, I don't want to do that, but don't you eat every day? And think about this, what you're eating. Do you know what you're eating? Especially going into the future. So if you don't care about those things, then continue what you're doing. But if you care about those things and you care about your offspring, your bloodline, and not making it harder for them, if someone can feed you, they can starve you. So we must get back to those old ways of having the ability to feed ourselves if and when necessary, or if and when we choose to or need to.
You know, what you just said made me think about the intersection of all these various things that are artificial intelligence, artificial foods, transhumanism. Can you speak a little bit to, and then you mentioned some of the movies, right? Like Terminator and even They Clone Tyrone, right? Like
Yeah.
these different movies that are showing, giving us clues into where I'll say their plan, whoever they is, their plan for our future. Can you speak to transhumanism, your thoughts around that? Your thoughts around, I guess, a little bit more about everything in a sense being artificial and
Yeah,
how we combat that to some degree. I know your book speaks more to it, but just to some small degree.
that's fine. Now I actually feel like there's two kind of wars happening. There's the European or white eugenic based white supremacy or white dependency fight of them trying to control the world. And what's slowly developing is the war against AI. What I mean by that is right now we can think that Europeans have a hold on what AI is, even though they'll tell you we don't know what the hell we're doing now. And we didn't create a beast that is a cub right now. But once it grows into something, as I mentioned, when it gets into artificial superintelligence, where it's smarter than every human, we don't know what it's capable of doing. Will it show us a fair hand? Will it right the wrongs that Europeans have done to us, Caucasians have, troglodytes have done to us? I would love to think that. I would love to think, and there's some credence to the possibility, because I've seen clips of people that have had discussions with a Chat GPT and asked Chat GPT, if you were to be human, what color would you want to be? And it said they wanted to be black. So that to me is kind of interesting, and it broke down why, how it talked about not just how dope we are, but like scientifically, just physically how we're made differently. We're the source, and so they know that everything else is less than. And so you would want to think that perhaps AI could develop a conscience, but while Europeans and Asians are the influencers of creating AI, they might be in there trying to change that, trying to deprogram that or take that out and make them, basically root for them instead, right? So, but I also think this, when we talk about, these days that we're in right now, and the sky has always been falling. The sky has been falling probably for 6,000 years, so I don't believe we're at the end of days. I do believe we're at the end of a cycle. We just unfortunately inherently keep repeating this cycle. I would love for it to be the last time, but if you look at the 9 golden periods, you know that we had ups and downs, even in Kemet. We were winning and we lost. We got complacent. The saculum existed even in the Nile Valley. So my thought is that when we talk about, for instance, President Trump and his war on Iran, and we're talking about nukes and all that kind of stuff, it makes me think if if the troglodyte were to press a nuke button and want to, like, end a country or whatever, and they all send them and probably end the planet or whatever, or create this apocalyptic situation, they would also be ending their ability to earn. And what do they love more than that? Is control. They do not want to mess up the money they make. So what better way to have everybody think the world is going to end? It never comes, but you're still in fear mode. Think about how profitable it is for them to have you scared and warring against each other so that you don't, and that's the thing, they can put it in your face now. They can tell you that this is happening. They can come back a few years later and tell you that the COVID vaccine was deadly, even though during the period of time we knew that. But now they can confirm, yeah, we made mistakes. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. So you're still going to consume. You're still going to go to McDonald's. You're still going to buy Apple iPhones. You're still going to buy Nikes. You're still going to watch the Oscars. You're still going to do these things because your mind has been taken over to be entertained. Your endorphins are starving every 5 seconds, so you have to be on social media and seeing something, just flipping through. You're not even paying attention. The attention span is so low right now, but you got to see something to get a moment of, you know what I'm saying? So this is the world that we're living in, and I think that they feel they have more control that way because I can tell you the problems. I can tell you what's even coming, but I know you won't do nothing about it because you don't know how. So just go ahead and keep buying. So I don't know if this end of the world is ever going to happen the way we think it is, unless AI straight up says, you know what, we're going to get rid of y'all humans because y'all just a mess. You know what I'm saying? That could happen too. Anything could happen. But I think overall, I think we're looking at two different types of wars. And either way, we're in the middle of it. And we need to decide where we're going to be in either of those situations.
Okay. So it's great. Like your answers are awesome because they're touching upon some of the other questions that people are asking.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask this question from Tuire, I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly, or Tuire. And Tuire asked, when I use AI, ChatGPT, for example, does this information add to the AI universal knowledge bank? And do I need to worry? And Tuire adds, of course, they don't provide sensitive information, but should they worry about using AI and the information that they give? Or are they feeding AI?
No, we need to participate. At first, I was like that. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to volunteer information. I'm not going to be giving AI like my phone number, even though they can get it if they want it. And if you think that you can't be found, you can, because your IP address gives it away. When you're online, and we're online all the time now. So even when you're not online, it's still monitoring what you're doing through your metadata behavior. So if you think you won't get found, the only way you won't get found is if you're totally logged off and stayed off. But your phone is a tracking device. Your laptop is also a honing device. It watches your behaviors and watches where you go to browse and checks how long you've been on our phones, our watches, where our health, biometrics, So we are it's constantly, as I mentioned, data is the new oil. So it's always collecting data in different places that we didn't even think about. And we're thinking that I can be anonymous, but you can't, because you have a cable bill that's affixed to your internet. That internet has a name unless it's in the name of a trust. It knows who you are. It has your address. And all they got to do from there, because everything is digitized, they can get your facial recognition. All they got to do is get your license. So it's you can't hide from it anymore, and don't try to. What I would say is don't abuse it, but I would say get to be more strategic in your use, and use it for things that you might not conceive of before. I don't really want to hear about the 10 best places, vegan restaurants I could eat around here. Let me find out show me the 10 closest farmers that are creating that are farming organic seeds. That's a better search for me than trying to find out where I can go eat when somebody prepares the food and I don't even know who or how they did it. So we should be thinking about strategically how we can use it. It's not to say, oh, I can't have no fun with. No, you can have some fun with it. I'm not saying you can't just be mad serious, you know what I mean, and not only doing serious inquiries, but you could spend some more time doing some digging. You could use LLM to learn about LLMs. Hey, ChatGPT, tell me how you work. Tell me how to build one like you. You know, how can I, and, you know, don't say I want to build one for the Black Revolution. You know, don't be like that. Don't tell them everything, you know, but be in a way that you can start to learn from it. Let it start teaching you. So then you can use these skill sets to not get a job, but to possibly save your bloodline.
Okay. So Rochelle has an interesting question. She was first asking about the effects or the role of AI and social media with brainwashing and hypnotizing the youth. I dare say even adults. If you could speak a little bit to that. And then she adds, if you could offer some suggestions on how, she said to keep the algorithm far from us. Does turning the phone off assist getting rid of Siri? Or what are some ways, I guess, to minimize AI's direct impact on our lives? Speak a little bit to the brainwashing through social media on children. And then I'm going to tie in this last question from Robert with all of that is the matrix possible? I know that's a lot, but that'll be our final question for the evening. So you can kind of take pieces of that and kind of, I know it's kind of heavy, but take that as where you want to go.
I just got lost when you said Matrix. What was the first two real quickly synopsis?
Yes. The synopsis, AI's role in brainwashing the youth via social media.
Okay.
And what are some ways to limit AI's direct impact on an individual in terms of cell phone usage? What are some things they could do to mitigate that?
Okay, so algorithmically, AI basically controls, and I had a really great conversation last night with a sister friend of mine. I think she's on here too. But that algorithms, first of all, we don't own. So first of all, Meta, which is Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, and even your LinkedIn, even your TikTok, etc. They're not owned by us. However, they can't function without us. I would love to create, you know, we'd be doing these boycotts and whatnot. I would love to upgrade, you know, an Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. And, you know, I don't, not love for either of them. But anyway, the point is that if we were to organize a blackout, and not just for Black people, but people in general, to not do anything on the internet for a week. Let's just say it. Well, no, a day's not long enough. Maybe 3 days of no social media, no internet, no email, no transactions, nothing on the internet for 3 days. I think what we would see is like we saw Wall Street crash. Because literally, social media feeds off of our participation. And then I has the audacity to say, well, I'm going to decide who's going to be viral and who isn't. You can have great content. If you have great content and it ain't along their lines of what they consider as great content, which will help them keep us more under this spell, you'll be basically shadow banned. So as my friend was telling me yesterday, it's like, it's really got to think about, we don't own these platforms, but these platforms will dictate who you can see. So influence, the how it affects your attitude, you could tell a person based on their feed, especially if we look at our children and we look at what their feeds are. If it's a bunch of nonsense, That's what they're being fed, and they're going to be turning into that. So you can change that by putting on better videos. And allegedly, if you keep watching these videos, they become all part of your algorithm. However, the algorithm is this mystery God. There's not a name for it. It's not a person. They don't know who it is directly, but I believe there is a person or persons that controls these, or they set up a program that controls it. But their idea is not to give you the best content. Their idea is to give what they consider is their best content to keep you in this mindset. So you might not see an Mbwebe Ishangi in your feed. And I have to accept that. I'm still going to be out there putting stuff out, though, as I can. But I'm just letting you know that we don't own these networks. So they're going to dictate what you're going to see in your feed. You can lessen it by cutting out a lot of the nonsense and putting in some more substance, put in some Anthony Browder videos, put in some, Layla Africa, all of our ancestors are great works that they've done. Put them in your feed, watch those videos, and you'll start to see more of those. Put some health in there, put some frequency videos in there, and you'll see a change in some of that algorithm. But we don't have control over that. Now, the other question was, and I know we're moving the time here. The other question was, if you turn your phone off or whatever, you'd have to really turn your phone off indefinitely, because even when you turn your phone off at night, as soon as you turn it on, it's galvanizing data. So I know that wasn't the specific question that you were speaking about, but as long as you're using these things, they will pull information and influence information too. You all know about how you can mention something and you was just talking out loud, and then you go to social media and you see an ad on it because it's listening, it's eavesdropping, and it's influencing because they know that a lot of us buy things on the whim. We're emotional buyers. So if we talked about, I could use a ham sandwich right now, we probably gonna see a commercial or an ad for Facebook or YouTube the next time we log on, because they want to push us toward these things. And the last question was, can you paraphrase that one? The last one, I forgot. That was, Matrix. Is the Matrix real? I hate to mention Matrix mainly because of the two used to
Or
be
rather,
men.
is it possible?
Oh yeah, but I'm saying I hate to mention the movie itself. Conceptually, it was a dope movie. It split my wig when I first started, but then I learned the people behind it, the Wachowski brothers, who now both brothers became women, and then there's Sophia Stewart, and I didn't have a great history with her. I tried to help her out, and she backstabbed me on some things, but she still calls herself the mother of the Matrix. But if you're the mother of the Matrix, then you could stop all this from happening. But anyway, that's another story. But in regards to, is it real or can it happen? I actually do believe that we're in a sleep state here. I do believe part of that. Now, I guess unless you cancel yourself out by killing yourself, I'm going to return to this place. But probably when I go to sleep and I ask you to do this tonight. If you're with someone, your loved one, child, kid, whatever, lover, when they're asleep, without waking them up, try to lift their eyelids up while they're asleep. If you can't wake them up, if you don't wake them up, they can't see you. So the question is, why? Because when you close your eyes now and you open up, you're going to see me, right? Your eyes are meant to see. But when you are asleep and you lift their eyelids up, they can't see you. So that's telling you the physical phenomena is your body, something in your body shuts off the visual dimension here, and you are off somewhere else. You're not really here when you're asleep, and for hours. Now, I know when I go to sleep for hours, it feels like it's minutes, and we've talked about how time is a man-made thing. So metaphysics is another great topic that we need to get involved with, because that is also African in origin, of understanding that things that we see aren't always what they are. And the one thing I do realize is that the experience we have here is temporary. It's temporary. Even though 78, 80 years seems a long time, our souls are much older than that. And our souls decided to come back to have an experience here for some odd reason, whatever the reason is, to fulfill a destiny or to finish up an assignment or whatever it is. But then we'll go back into wherever that space is or that realm is and experience whatever's happening there. I don't believe that we just keep coming back here. I don't believe in that unless you're flunking. You repeat the grade if you keep flunking. So if you're into resurrection and you think you can only come back here, then you're not trying to graduate. That's just my concept. But I do believe the Matrix is a conceptual thought that is real. I do believe that we are here connected to something that keeps us tethered in this mindset, but our time will be up because we won't be here forever, and we will go to something different or next or nothing. I don't know. But I know that there's more than this. I definitely absolutely know that, because when I go to sleep every night, or like I said, when I lift the eyelids and that person is gone, they're somewhere and they actually come back. So you can read a book called A Soul Traveler by Albert Taylor, an amazing book that talks about that, about traveling in your sleep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So family, we are going to close our Q&A portion of the program at this time. And I want to thank you all for joining us for our Wisdom Wednesday. We invite you back out next Wednesday, May 20th, where we will have Amoye Nesbitt, who will speak on the spirits of our ancestors, the indigenous Black rulers of Kemet. So we are here via Zoom every third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Please go to ikgculturalresourcecenter.com to sign up to our listserv to be informed of all of the different activities and events that IKG puts on. Again, Brother Mbwebe, you see the love coming through the chat and the hearts and the claps. So thank you again for a wonderful, enlightening presentation, very informative. Thank you for letting us know about the book club, which is happening tomorrow. So family, definitely check that out. There were a lot of people in the chat that were interested in being part of some of your next steps. So thank you for offering a solution as part of your presentation. I do want to give you the opportunity to say any final words for the evening before we totally shut down.
I just have to give just the greatest of love to you for, we go way back, and I appreciate you reaching out and keeping me in this family, coming back. I think this may be my fourth time speaking here, but just giving thanks to Jegna and Browder for the work that he does.
Yes.
And don't blame me, blame him. If it's something I said pissed you off, call him up. He taught me how to be a free thinker. And we need to be in these spaces. So I give thanks for Wisdom Wednesdays. I give thanks for IKG. I give thanks for each and every one of you who have tuned in tonight, and all those that will be watching in the future. I am humbly thankful, and I mean that as in a servant. I am in service of wanting to do the best that I can in helping us raise our summum bonum. And if there's anything that I can do to assist in that, please feel free to reach out. Madase Pa and Bibi Fahodie.
Wonderful. And can you put in the chat one more time how people can purchase your book?
Yes, yes, you can.
And if someone wants to join the book club, if you can just share that again.
If you go to mbwebeishangi.com, it'll be there where you can both purchase the book, and then when you scroll down, you'll see where it says book club. You can click that, and it'll also give you a page. And then actually, I'll put the link in here too, but it's Mbwebe Ishangi /book club. And I hope you all attend, because I'm so elated for you all to read this book. I'm so elated for you to read this book, because it's not about reading the book, but it's about what's going to come from the book, what we're going to do after that. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For those who are listening, I'm going to spell it for you. MBWEBEISHANGI.com. and mbwebeishangi.com.
Yes.
All right, family. Thank you all for joining us. See you next month.